Okay, so I'm just doing what I said I would do when it comes to placing everything inside a book, making sure I organize all this. Finally, I pushed past that. And I'm doing B. And then I basically put all the information in, but I came across, where was it? This one. Yes, this one here. The Simpsons. Now, I don't know if you are aware or if you even watch television. I personally do not. But when I did, The Simpsons seemed to have predicted certain things, right? Well, so it would seem. Now, the whole idea of energy and us co-creating, just think of it this way. If an episode were to air on, let's say, The Simpsons or something like that, and how many people or views do you think would be for that particular episode or something like that? How many people do you think actually have watched it? And that collective, that is now like a seed inside their reality, their brain, their thought, and they've watched an episode. Now everything that they take and absorb from that episode, right? That's going to be internalized by them. They can take or leave whatever they want. And now what happens is when you have a whole collective, like a group, this is where it comes to the programming too, when it comes to news or anything like that. They call it a program. They used to have little tiny books for your TV shows. And you used to be able to look in that program to see what would be playing at what times instead of like a TV guide. They called it a program. And so it is literally each of them, each channel you get on your TV, everything you watch, you absorb and you digest as information. Not just like food, right? Food's also information too. Your body uses it whichever it needs to. So when it comes to television, you're taking in that information, and it's also going into your consciousness, subconscious as well. So if you get a group of people all together watching the same thing and thinking the same idea, or at least envisioning it, it's very powerful how the human mind and everybody can work together, almost like a hive, right? And I think what people are failing to see is that, well, not failing, they're just not fully aware that it may not be predictive in the sense that they are telling the future. More so, they are planting seeds, ideas, thoughts, visually, mind you, visually in the collective. And when you get so many people together, let's say vibing at a certain frequency, right? You got so many people together that are putting out that frequency or that are co-creating together. Thoughts become things, and we can manifest our own reality for our own lives, our own world. So when you get a collective together in the entire world, it's possible that things will come to fruition that have been collectively manifested. So when you get the Simpsons, how I used to be a conspiracy theorist as well, and there's nothing wrong with it. I have nothing against anybody. And when you start getting more information, you start to be more open and aware of certain things. You realize why it is. you felt the certain way you did before you had the information. And so there's a lot of people out there right now that are stating that, oh, The Simpsons, for example, are able to predict the future, or they have some sort of special thing going on there, when really they are aware of how energy works. They are aware of how the collective mind works. They are aware of certain things, and they can also, knowing that information, push certain agendas in certain directions and place certain seeds in people's thought process. Doesn't mean it's going to happen overnight necessarily, but you get a certain episode, for example, that's aired at a certain date, and it's going to take time before the majority sees it, right? Before it becomes like and maybe even depending on the individual's eyes that it hits, that individual could be more tapped in than the others. And, the closer you are, the more gifted, and the more you have access to gifts, I should say. Everybody's gifted. The more you have access to your certain abilities and gifts, and manifestation's one of them. So I put this out now because I think what I'm going to do is, once I put everything into here, I've got a couple ideas what I'm going to do with this. Obviously, I don't just want to throw these papers out. It's a lot of information over a long period of time. I had so many different notes. Oh, post-it notes. Oh, excuse me. But yeah, really, when it comes to anything, programs, movies, games, you name it, whatever is right there in the system that we live in, those with the knowledge about this sort of thing are trying to push things in a certain direction, or persuade masses of people to think a certain way. This is why I really, really am trying to open up certain avenues of people's thought process with the things that I say, because I really, really would like them to be able to think for themselves, because everybody has the capability of doing so. And the only thing that seems to be holding people back is fear. And that sucks, because I've experienced it, and I realize how difficult it is to get out of that. So, like the thought process of functioning out of fear, because it's a vibrational frequency, it's a state as well, and it's a hard one to overcome if you've been programmed your entire life. I don't even know how I've made it this far, to be honest, without certain help energetically from things that are not even in front of me. Definitely has helped me. I acknowledge that, and I respect and appreciate it, and I'm truly grateful, because I would not be here without it. But yeah, just a little thought. I'm not saying that The Simpsons or anything like that should go off air, or should be whatever, but if they are abusing their privileges, if certain programs and stuff like that are abusing certain privileges, just as anybody else with their talents, gifts, and ability, if they're abusing it to do harm or negative propaganda, or to push agendas for the harm of others, then maybe, we should all just change our frequency. Start thinking for yourselves. Start loving on yourselves anyway.